Right now, one of the most critical shipping lanes on the entire planet is grinding to a halt. We're potentially looking at the biggest maritime traffic jam in modern history. So what on earth is going on in the Strait of Hormuz? Let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with this number. 706. That's how many massive ships, we're talking oil tankers, huge cargo vessels, are just stuck right now. They're idling at anchor, some are just drifting out in the open water near the Strait of Hormuz, and they are completely unable to move.
So that's the big question, right? How did we get to this point? And maybe more importantly, what happens when a global economic artery like this gets completely clogged?
To really get a handle on this, you have to see the immediate impact on this vital choke point.
And let me tell you, the situation is severe. In just a few days, maritime traffic moving through the strait has absolutely plummeted by a staggering 84 to 85%. Let's be really clear here. This isn't some kind of slowdown, it's a near total shutdown.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's where these ships are stuck. This isn't just one big line of ships. You've got about 500 ships waiting outside in the Gulf of Oman that can't get in to load their cargo. And at the same time, you have over 200 ships, including at least 40 fully loaded oil supertankers that are literally trapped inside the Persian Gulf. They can't get out.
So how did this all happen so fast? Well, if you look at the timeline, you can see just how quickly things escalated.
So the whole thing was kicked off after an alleged attack on Iran. And in response, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, started blasting out this really clear and repeated warning over marine radio to every ship in the area: the Strait of Hormuz is closed, do not attempt to pass.
And with that, they effectively created a blockade. But what does that actually mean here? Because it's probably not what you're thinking.
Yeah, this is the key to the whole thing. What Iran has put in place is what's called a soft blockade. That means there are no warships or sunken ships physically blocking the way. The entire blockade is enforced by one thing: the very credible threat that any ship trying to defy that warning is going to get attacked.
Now, what's interesting here is that this blockade, it's not for everybody. Reports are showing that traffic hasn't completely stopped. It seems certain vessels, specifically those flagged as Iranian or Chinese, are being allowed to sail right on through without any problems.
So at first, it seems like a few shipping companies wanted to, test the waters, see how serious this soft blockade really was. That turned out to be a really dangerous decision, and it led to a very rapid, very violent escalation.
Well, that threat turned out to be very, very real, very fast. As you can see from the details here, at least 5 different ships that challenged the warning were attacked. And the methods were brutal, everything from direct fire to drone strikes. The results were just awful. We're talking significant damage, injuries, and tragically, at least one person was killed. The message was sent loud and clear.
And, those attacks, they changed absolutely everything. Suddenly, the entire risk calculation for the shipping companies, and maybe even more importantly for their insurance providers, was turned on its head. They just looked at the situation and decided, you know what, it's just not worth the risk anymore.
Okay, so you squeeze shut one of the world's most critical arteries for energy and trade. What happens next? Let's talk about the economic fallout.
Well, first off, for any company that even thought about sending a vessel into the region, the cost of insurance just went through the roof. We're talking about war risk premiums surging by as much as 500%. Some insurers just pulled out completely, saying, nope, we're not covering that.
And you better believe that risk got priced into the energy markets, immediately. The price of Brent crude oil, which is a huge global benchmark, jumped between 10 and 13% in just a matter of days.
But wow, the really dramatic jump? That was in natural gas. Prices in Europe soared by a shocking 54%. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Qatar, one of the biggest suppliers of liquefied natural gas, or LNG, in the world, ships it all right through the strait. They were forced to halt every single export.
And as if that wasn't bad enough, this supply shock got even worse. There were reports of actual physical damage to crucial infrastructure in the area. Key energy terminals in Qatar and Saudi Arabia were reportedly damaged by falling debris. And then, on top of all that, the huge oil terminal at Fujairah suspended its operations after an incident, choking off the flow of energy even further. So, yeah, the immediate impacts are already hitting us, all around the globe. But the real worry is what happens the longer this thing drags on.
because the ripple effects are just going to get more and more severe.
And this right here, this is the perfect example of the bigger problem. You have countries like Pakistan that rely heavily on the Gulf for their energy, and now they are in full-on crisis mode. They are scrambling, trying to find other ways to get energy, which are almost guaranteed to be more expensive, and it's forcing them to completely rethink their entire energy strategy, basically overnight.
Which really leaves us all with this final, critical question. The Strait of Hormuz, it isn't just some regional waterway. It's a key piece in the engine of the entire global economy. And when you suddenly rip a piece that important out of the machine, the question really isn't if the whole system is going to feel the pain, but when, and just how bad it's going to be.